Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a long time since I last recorded a video. I think it's been probably almost a year since I last made a video on this channel, and I haven't really felt like recording anything, but lately I've been feeling like starting again, so why not get back into it? So I kind of want to make a Hunt Showdown Hunt Showdown weapons tier list. Because I've been playing a lot of Hunt Showdown recently. It's probably been my most played game as of late. So let's get started. So I think this is every weapon I haven't checked, but probably every weapon worth remembering. It's probably one of the more popular tier lists. Well, it has 2 reactions at least, so I hope it has every weapon. So and it seems to be in alphabetical order, I think. So, yeah. Let's get started with the Berthier Deadeye. I think that's the pronunciation. I usually say Berthier in Swedish, but it's probably Berthier or something. The Deadeye, I think it's kind of like a sexy weapon to use, right? It's satisfying to use. I don't think it's the best weapon. I'll actually change this to, I don't know. I think this is like a great weapon. This is a good weapon. These are like usable. No, wait, this is a meme weapon, and these are just trash weapons that you can't even use for memes because they're that bad. And these are the goated weapons. Those are the absolute best, and this is all in my opinion. It's not the objective best weapons, because I don't feel like I'm good enough to make an objective ranking of these weapons, because I haven't played enough and I'm not a high enough MMR or anything. I'm not a pro, so I just play it casually. So this is all going to be my opinion of the weapons. Well, let's get back to the ranking. I think the Berthier Deadeye I think it's a good weapon. It's probably one of the best Deadeye weapons. It's not my favorite, but it's the problem with it is that it's pretty expensive, I think. I'm not quite sure, but I have the memory of the Berthier. I don't play it that often, but I think it's one of those weapons that I don't buy because it's quite a hefty price tag. And I'm going to put the normal one there as well. The thing with the normal one that makes it about as good as the Deadeye is that it has really good iron sights, I feel. So hitting your shots is actually really easy compared to a lot of other weapons in the game. So even though it's an iron sights weapon, I think it's still pretty good for around the same range as the Deadeye. Even though you don't get the magnifications just because it has really good iron sights. Next one is the Bomb Lance. And I think this is a meme weapon, because if you want something close range, you'll either use the Combat Axe, which is probably not a very good weapon, but I like using it, or the Cavalry Saber. Both are capable of a one-hit kill as well in close range. So I don't really see the point for the melee in the Bomb Lance. It's a lot longer too, so if you try to sneak behind a wall, it's a lot easier to spot than if you use, let's say, a Cavalry Saber. And the bomb itself is not very effective. It takes quite a long time for it to detonate and doesn't do that much damage, I think. So, yeah, I'm going to place it around here. Next one is the Bornheim Extended, I think. I'm going to say this is also a good weapon. I don't use the Bornheim either. I used to use it a lot, but when I first started playing, maybe because it's a forgiving weapon, because it has quite a high fire rate and high magazine count, and the damage isn't that bad either. But as I've gotten better and my aim has gotten better, I've been favoring more of the normal handguns, the revolvers, because I feel like they're easier to aim, and if you hit those headshots, they're an insta kill anyway, and I just feel like they have better iron sights. I'm gonna place the normal Bornheim at around the same place, a bit below though. And this, I guess, is the Bornheim Precision. I have never used this weapon, honestly. I don't even think I've unlocked it. And because it's a Precision, it's going to be taking up a larger slot, so I'm going to place it a tier below the normal Bornheim, because I don't like when weapons, especially pistols, take up slots that could be used for larger weapons. Alright, next one is the... oh, I can never remember. It's the caliber conversion chain pistol, there we go. And I'd say this is a good weapon. Probably... no, I think I would place it over here. Maybe it's great. No, it's not great. But top of good tier, I'd say so far. It has, like, I think 18 round magazine, which is really good. Which allows you to pair it with fanning and actually do quite a lot of work with it. But fanning and hipfire in general is very random. So it can be extremely good or really awful. And I feel like the iron sights, even though they're quite similar, the outline of the gun is a bit different with that kind of chain magazine going around it. So I find it harder to aim than the normal caliber conversion pistol. So I'm going to place it in good. Next one is the uppercut, and this is going into the this is the first goated weapon in my opinion. It has a lot of damage, so it has this intimidation factor. If you hit someone with it, they're going to be losing a lot of health. And I feel like the weapon in general is really easy to aim, and even though the recoil is high, it's easy to land follow-up shots, and the fire rate isn't that bad actually. And it can insta-kill on headshots, but most pistols can. I think every pistol can, even the Nagant. So, but I'm placing it in goated. It's probably my favorite pistol. It's not my most used pistol because it is somewhat expensive, but I think it's the best pistol in the game, honestly. Next one is the normal caliber conversion pistol, which gets great from me. I find it really easy to aim as well. Landing headshots with this thing is quite easy. You can put FMJ ammo on it as well for some extra penetration, which I'm not sure you can do with the chain pistol, but maybe you can. I'm just not sure. I don't use the chain pistol that often, and when I do, I use normal ammo so I can fill it quite often because I pair it with fanning, so it burns through a lot of ammo, and special ammo just isn't good for that. But I'm going to put the normal caliber conversion pistol in great. It's cheap, it's always effective, it's capable of a 2-shot kill to the body, 1 shot with a headshot, and the iron sights are good. So Caliber Pax Claw, I haven't used it, but it's going to be as good as the normal Caliber Pax, I suppose. I just don't see a need for it when I have the knife. I guess not having to switch weapons is in some cases effective if grunts and stuff attack you mid-fight, but I haven't gotten much use out of claw weapons and bayonet weapons, so I'm putting it in great, and the normal Pax there as well. I think the Pax is a great pistol, and I use it quite a lot. It's probably my 3rd or 4th most used pistol in the game, and it has good damage. The iron sights are pretty good as well, and it's a clean weapon, but it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite to use. I don't know why. It's just not my favorite, but there's nothing I don't like about it. It's just not my favorite pistol. And next up we have the Caldwell Rival. No, wait, Caldwell's Rival 78, I think the name is, and it's also going in goated. If I would have made this tier list, I don't know, a month ago, I would probably have put it in trash or like one of these lower tiers, but right now it's in goated because I've been using it a lot more than I used to. For a long time I played 1 match with this gun, like ever, and I wasn't very happy with it. It took too many shots to kill most often, and so I stopped using it because I thought the Romero was better, and I still kind of think that, but this has the versatility of having 2 shots, so if a duo pushes you and you can take them down in 1 shot each, you don't have to reload like with the Romero, where you often get caught mid-reload, especially if you get pushed by a duo and you're solo or something. But it's also weak. It's not as common that you insta-kill with this compared to the Romero, so sometimes you need both of those shots for that kill, and that's why I don't like it as much as the Romero, because the Romero almost always insta-kills. And the Romero is also very cheap, and you can get it from free loadouts and everything, and I just really like the Romero. I think it's my... I like how I talk more about the Romero than the Rival in the Rival ranking, but I just think the Romero is a better shotgun, but the Rival is still, I think, the second best shotgun in the game. And the hand cannon, I really never use hand cannons, but they have some use, and if you pair them with some weapons I'll mention later. But I'm going to put this at the bottom of good. I just think it suffers too much from low range and damage, and you can get a 2-shot kill with it. I just don't play it like ever, because why would I don't see a point for it, right? I'd rather use the normal caliber Rival and then an uppercut for something like more ranged. Next one is the Cavalry Saber, and this is not a meme weapon. This is actually a pretty viable weapon in my opinion. I might even put it at great, because if you're attacking someone that is using a more slower firing rifle, Mosin, possibly Sparks, Lebel, anything, it's quite possible that you'll be able to kill them before they get that second shot off and kill you, unless you get headshotted, of course. And it's good against grunts, and it's good against like a lot of things. I think you can take down concertinas with it and stuff. And it's generally just a fun weapon. It's fun to play, and it can often be a good shotgun substitute that takes up a small slot, but is still capable of a one-shot kill. So I usually pair this with something like long range, like a sniper, when I still want something close range in the small slot. So you could pair this with a marksman, a sniper, or a Deadeye, and it'll have great effect actually. So I think it's a really good weapon. And the combat axe I don't think is as good. I don't know why. I don't see a lot of people playing it. Maybe it's because it's a bit slower and it takes up a lot of stamina to use, and if you miss you're dead because it attacks quite slowly. But it is an effective weapon. I'm going to rank it in front of the hand cannon. I've gotten a few kills with it on players. And these armored grunts, I don't know what they're called, but it insta-kills them as well, which not a lot of melee weapons do. So I'm going to place it here, and it can insta-kill players as well, so it's a good alternative to the Cavalry Saber, but I would almost always pick the Cavalry Saber because it's stamina and speed efficient. Next up is the Crossbow, and I really hate Crossbow players because this weapon it's quite effective if you haven't been spotted and you can get that free kill. It's often quite hard to hear or see where you shoot from as well. So this is often a weapon I see used by like reptilians and other more like hunters that are usually try to play more stealthy, and like it's a trend I see that reptilians in particular like using this weapon because they like camping and hiding a lot and playing kind of like cowards. But it's actually a good weapon, maybe even great because it is capable of one-shot kill from quite good ranges. It's quiet, it has quite a bit of ammo. My only complaint with it is that the iron sights are quite poor, so for long range I struggle using it myself, but it can be very effective with a good player. So next one is the Crown and King Auto 5, and this one could shift from either being goated or absolute trash in my opinion, because this is the most inconsistent shotgun. I'm going to place it in usable because it has a really hefty price tag. It's the most expensive shotgun in the game. It can insta-kill, it's capable of it, but most of the time for me it doesn't insta-kill, and sometimes I even need 3 shots to the body to kill people from ranges where the Romero would only use sometimes 1, and same for the Cavalry Rival. So I'm only going to place it in usable because it's really expensive and it's very inconsistent. It can be great, it can be awful. Next one is the Dolk, and before I started playing, one of my friends used to say this was the best weapon in the game, then it got nerfed. I would say it's almost a meme weapon because the Bornheim has basically better stats all around. I think it has better iron sights. It's much easier to use and it's a lot cheaper. So the Dolk I really don't see much use for unless you pick it up off the ground, but I struggle using this weapon. I don't think I have more than 2-3 kills with it ever. It's just not worth the money. There's a lot of better things to buy for this price tag, and I would just say buy the Bornheim instead. Next one is the Knuckle Dusters. I didn't know they would actually rank these tool slot melee weapons. I think they're usable. You wouldn't use them against players, of course, but against grunts they get the work done. They're of course great for attacking immolators with, for example, because they won't ignite from it. So it's only one of 2 melee weapons in the tool slot that can deal with immolators. So just for that reason, I think it even gets good because of that. But it's not as satisfying killing grunts with this as with the knife. With the knife, you just run through and like stab them. And you can keep running. You kind of lose all momentum when you use the knuckle dusters. So they're not as satisfying to use for killing grunts, and otherwise they're basically the same. So I'd place the knife there as well. And the heavy knife, I would place unusable. I don't really like this weapon either. I think the normal knife is just better. And while we're at it, I'll rank the knuckle knife as well. I think it's also good. None of these should be used against players, I don't think. But the knuckle knife can be used against grunts and immolators and everything, because it has the knuckle duster part and the knife part. It's not as effective as the knuckle dusters or the knife, but it's a good combination of both, meaning you can take down grunts and immolators quite effectively, and it's actually cheaper than the knife, I think. So hand crossbow, I'd say, is usable as well. It's better than the crown and king. Yeah, I think it's capable of one-shot kill. It's most often not. What I usually use this for, and what I often see people use this for, is to lay out a lot of poison using the poison arrows on it, and it is an effective strategy, I think. You can block off areas and stuff, and poison deals a lot of damage in this game, and it's quite hard. You get impaired vision, and it sounds like people step, like you think you hear steps all the time, and it's really annoying being poisoned in Hunt. So I think it's a usable weapon for that, but the normal crossbow is just better, and I think normal pistols are also better than it. But for the poison utility, I would put it in usable. It's not very expensive either. The bow, I think, is a good weapon. I would personally rank it above the crossbow. I think the iron sights are better. You can take some quite interesting ammo, concertina arrows with it, for example, and I think poison, I'm not sure. No, you can take these frag bomb or shot ammo, I don't remember, and the normal arrows, and it's a one-shot kill from close range, not always from long range, but I just think it's a very effective weapon. The only downside is that it lacks an ammo, but it's a medium slot, so you can take 2 bows if you really want to use all that ammo. There is this Dew Claw, I think the trait is called, that improves damage, but I don't think it's good enough. But you can use it for melee in some cases with it, but I wouldn't really do it. Next one is the Label, I think that's how you pronounce it, and I would place this in... I'd say it's great. It's a satisfying weapon to use. It's kind of expensive, but it's nice for range. And it's not the most expensive weapon in the game. There's a lot of more expensive weapons in terms of snipers, and it has quite high damage as well. I think up there with the Mosin and probably Martini Henry as well. But I think it's around on par with the Mosin. It's just not as good as the Mosin, I would say. The aperture I wouldn't rank as highly, because I don't think aperture sights are very useful. And that probably has to do with me not being very good with aperture sights, but I don't think it's the worst aperture sights. You'll see a weapon that gets a lot lower placement that uses aperture sights later, but it's usable. I just don't think it's particularly good. Next one is the marksman variant, which I would probably place above the normal one. The thing is, the normal one you can use for closer ranges. Marksman is not very effective for close range, so you would probably want something close range. So I think they're about on par with each other, depending on what you would use the weapon for. But I guess there's an argument to be made that if you use a Label, why not use the marksman, because it is a long range weapon. But it can also be quite effective close range, since it does damage comparable to a shotgun from medium ranges and stuff, and if people get tagged too hard, they'll usually try to hide and heal instead. So it can be quite discouraging. So I'm going to place it above the marksman, and I think there's better long-range weapons than the level marksman anyway, so I'll place the normal one there. And the Talon, it's the same deal, you just get that close range versatility of the Talon, which can, like I said, be good if you don't want to switch weapons when a grunt attacks you. But rarely it's more effective than switching to your knife, and Talons usually have a long wind-up time with their strikes, and it drains a lot of your stamina, so I'm probably placing it below the marksman even. Next one is the Lemmat Mark II, and this one I think it's usable. It's actually probably one of my favorite pistols, but I don't think it's objectively very good. The iron sights are fine, they're usable. You can use incendiary ammo to detonate explosive barrels, which is also, like, it's fine. But there's pistols that I think have better damage and better iron sights. There is a shotgun component to this pistol, but I would much rather just use a normal shotgun than a pistol, because this shotgun has a very large spread, which makes it very ineffective for those like medium-ish shotgun ranges. Ranges where the Romero, for example, would still insta-kill, but this pistol doesn't. So sometimes you would need like 2 shots to get a kill with this thing. But it's not a bad pistol actually. It's not. It might even be bottom. I think it's bottom of good tier, but it's pretty close to like just being usable for me. I think there's better weapons to use, so I don't see myself using this weapon as a first choice unless I get it for free. Machete, I'm just going to put this in trash. It takes up the same size of a slot as the cavalry saber does, but it does less damage, and I think it's quite similar in price as well. So I just don't see a use for it. And if you really need a weapon to kill grunts with close range, you can just buy any of the ones that take up a tool slot, because then you don't have to sacrifice a weapon slot to be able to kill grunts at close range. And it's even cheaper than the machete, so I just don't see the use for this weapon. This is the Martini Henry Deadeye, I think, and I'm going to put this in... I'll put this in great. It's a good weapon. It's a great weapon since I put it in the great tier. The Martini Henry has the second highest base damage of any like long range sniper, after the sparks, of course, and so which can be used quite effectively to scare people if you want to rest a teammate, for example, or just if you want to get a kill. Because if someone has been tagged by anything, this is usually a one-shot kill. Same goes for the normal Martini Henry and the marksman. I'd place the marksman at the top though, because it is a long-range weapon. Can be used somewhat close range, and the thing with the Martini Henry as well is you can get it from free reshuffles, but it's also quite cheap, I'd say. And the bayonet as well, so you can buy it quite often, and like I said, you can get it for free, so it's a very effective weapon. Yes, not my favorite. I'm not a big fan of the iron sights and the overall look of the weapon. I don't really like using it that much, but it's an effective weapon, and it can get work done. And when I use it, I rarely use it, but when I do use it, I can use it to pretty good effect. Next up is the Mosin automatic. Automat, I think you would. I don't know Russian. It's probably a Russian name since it's a Russian weapon. I would place this in good, but at the bottom of good, because it is the most expensive weapon in the entire game. That said, close range is quite effective, but I don't really see a use for it when you have shotguns close range. For long range, the recoil is just way too high, I'd say. Like, it's not, you can't use it on the same range as I use the normal Mosin at. So, for that reason, I'm putting it in good. It's expensive, it drains ammo really quickly. But it's, like I said, it has really good time to kill. A problem I can have with this weapon is if I'm fighting someone close range and they shoot me and I get tagged, and when you flinch, you will often miss like your entire burst basically, because the recoil is really high, which has happened to me. I have a clip somewhere where I'm really close range and this girl shoots me with I think it's a normal caliber conversion, and I flinch. So I tag her with the first shot of my burst while my iron sights are straight on her, and then the flinching makes me miss my other 2 shots, so that can be an issue. So the flinching paired with the really high recoil can really like impair your aim, so I wouldn't say it's a really good weapon. The bayonet I would say is great. The Obras, it's a medium slot Mosin, I would just say that it's good. Same for the, no wait, is this the Obras? I don't know which one this is, but it's the Obras and the Obras Mace and Extended, I'm not sure. But I just don't see a use for these. I mean, yes, as a close range, not a close range, sorry, a medium slot, high damage like rifle, but I think there's better options for that slot actually. So I would only place these in good, and then they're not very cheap either. Normal Mosin also gets, no, I think it gets goated tier, and say with the Mosin Sniper. I just think the normal Mosin has probably the most clean iron sights in the entire game. It's just really easy to aim with these iron sights, and the Sniper is just very satisfying to use. It does damage comparable to a Sparks almost, not quite. A Sparks would leave you at 1 HP, so if you've taken any damage with a Sparks, you're insta-killed. It's not necessarily the case with the Mosin Sniper, but most times you're going to guaranteed 2-shot kill them. Otherwise, I don't know what. Yeah, it's going to 2-shot kill them or 1-shot kill them if they're taking damage. Next one is the Nagant Precision Deadeye, I think. I don't see a point for this weapon. I'd say it's usable. Like, it suffers from the same issue as all 3 normal Nagants, and that's it just doesn't have, and the normal Nagant Precision as well. It just doesn't have the damage. It has quite a slow fire rate compared to, it has like on par with most pistols, but it just doesn't have the damage capabilities for it. So I would place it at usable. You can use it, I just don't think it's good. Next up is the Nagant Officer Carbine and the Nagant Officer Carbine Deadeye. And these weapons, I used to be really high on these weapons. These used to be my favorite weapons. Like, when I unlocked these, I was saving up, like, grinding the normal Nagant Officer just to unlock these. And when I got them, I really enjoyed them, actually. I found it really good for close range hip fire, because it could shoot so damn quickly, and it did really good damage. But as I've been using it more, and especially trying to use it for more longer ranges, since it is a carbine, it does take up a large slot, same as like most of these weapons here, all the Lebels and the Martini Henrys and Sparks and everything. It's not very good for long range, and especially the Deadeye suffers from this. It has really high idle sway, so it's very difficult landing shots on people with these weapons. And the recoil is also very noticeable, and they're not stockless either, so you don't really, like, not sure if the traits can reduce the idle sway. I just don't see these weapons being useful. They might even be meme or trash for me. Like, they went from being like my favorite weapons to being like my most hated weapons. The Nagant Officer, I'd say, is a good weapon. It's not my favorite pistol, but it does have high fire rate paired with pretty good damage. It's a direct upgrade to the normal Nagant. I would never buy the normal Nagant. Even though it's cheaper, the Officer is just so much better. I don't mean that the Officer is cheaper, of course. I mean the Officer is better, and I mean sure the Nagant is cheaper, but if you really care that much about the difference in hunt dollars between these two, then you have bigger issues. I think the Mosquito, no, that's the skin. The normal Nagant Silenced, I think it's a good weapon. I would probably place it somewhere around here, because you can, since it is silent, you won't be seeing any muzzle flashes, and it's hard to locate where the shots are coming from, and you can put poison ammo on this, which is a great fight starter. So you poison someone with this, and they don't hear where or see where you're shooting from, and then you can do follow-up shots with any other weapon. For example, rush them with a shotgun. So I think this is a good weapon if paired with poison ammo, and you can use it with normal ammo as well. It just suffers from low damage output, but if you want a sneaky option, sure, you could probably use it, but I mainly use it for poison ammo. Next up is the Nitro Express Rifle, and I think this is a meme weapon, I'd say. The thing is, it has the highest base damage of any weapon, I think. Maybe shotguns can do more at maximum range, but it's an insta-kill either way. I just think the sights are really awful. So, I don't think I've even gotten a kill with the aperture sights on this, and it's really hard to use from any range. So what I usually do with the Nitro Express rifle, I don't use it anymore. I used to use it a lot when I just unlocked it, because I thought it was super cool to have like a high damage Nitro Express rifle, an elephant rifle, but it's not effective. I used to use it hip fire as a shotgun replacement, but it's so expensive. You're better off with a cavalry rifle, which is also double barrel. Sure, it's not going to insta kill, but you're more likely to it since it's pellets instead of like one really large Nitro Express round. So next one is the Quad Derringer, and I'd say this is trash. I've really never used it. This weapon has the worst iron sights in the game, and I can confidently say that I just don't think this is ever usable. I don't buy this. I don't want it to take up my tool slot. It's just bad, really. I don't think I've even been killed by it. That's how bad it is. Just like the machete, I never see these two played. All these other weapons I see played, I just don't see these two played. The Romero I put in top of goated tier, and the same for the Romero Talon, which I'd probably even place higher because I really like the Maelstrom and just general skins. Though I do love Southern Belle to my Romero as well. It's just a really consistent shotgun. It's the one shotgun I feel almost always insta-kills. It's very rarely that it doesn't insta-kill for me. They don't have the new Romero variant in this tier list, but I would place it probably in the great tier. I don't like it as much as the normal ones. It just looks ugly, and I struggle aiming it. Probably since the thing with the Romero, I think it's a bit of a mental thing as well, because you only have that one shot, right? So you have to make that one shot count. So I feel like my aim is more exact with the Romero compared to, let's say, the Cavalry Rival, where I can afford to lose one shot or tag them in the body or something. The Romero, you have to land that shot, so I always find myself having better aim with the Romero. The hand cannon, where did I put the where did I put the Cavalry Rival hand cannon? I can't find it. Am I blind? Well, I would place it somewhere here anyway. Same goes for the hatchet, but I'd probably put the hatchet there. No, I wouldn't. I find that these two are usable if paired with a weapon you'll see soon on the list. In kind of like a micro loadout that I do, but I don't use them outside of that. If they're free, I often change them to just a normal Romero anyway. They can get the job done, but if you try to dual wield these things, which has something to do with penny shots, it's completely useless. You would need something good for long range if you want to use these, because these don't have any range at all, and that goes for all hand cannons. Scoutfield also goes up in the goated category. I think just below the uppercut. I think it's my most used pistol, probably by a landslide even. I just find it very satisfying to use. It's cheap, often comes in free loadouts. Medium ammo I find really easy to find. It has a lot of ammo in general. It's just a very nice weapon to use, and I like the break open style of the weapon when reloading it. I just find it very satisfying. The precision, I would say, is a trash weapon. The Swift, if you're used to using the Swift, I would say it's maybe good, but I don't think it's as good as the normal one, because rarely do I find myself in a case where I need to reload my Scoutfield in a hurry in mid-fight. Then I would most likely just switch weapons. And since I also like having my weapon fully reloaded, which you can't do without firing all of your shots with the Swift unless you want to lose ammo. I just don't like the Swift. The Spitfire, I don't like the iron sights on. I think it's quite a high ranking weapon, though. It's capable of a 2-shot kill. I've personally never really had a 2-shot kill with it. I think I usually had the 3-shot kill with it for some reason. Maybe my aim is just really bad, but that's why I don't use it. It does have the high fire rate, like it can really melt people. I just never seem to be able to get that 2-shot kill away. Most times I use it, I seem to require a 3-shot kill to kill people, so And the iron sights aren't as good, so I don't land my shots as effectively, especially headshots when I use the normal scout field. So I don't really see a point for me using this weapon, but it can probably move up to the goated tier if you're good with it. Sparks, I would say, it's not my favorite weapon, but I would say it's goated as well, because it's the highest damage rifle in this game, except for the Nitro Express rifle, of course, and rifles aren't really shotguns aren't rifles. 149 base damage. It has quite high bullet speed as well. Otherwise, the stats are somewhat similar to other rifles. I mean, it does have the highest damage, so if you've taken any damage, like even getting touched by a hive or a grunt or anything, walked on fire, you're dead. 1 damage and you're dead. So that's what makes the Spark so good, and it has insane intimidation factor. No one is going to push you if they get tagged by Sparks. They're going to go and heal, so it buys you time as well if you tag someone with the Sparks. So I just think the Sparks is very effective because of that high damage, but otherwise there are other weapons that do the job better, I'd say, especially if you need to take down multiple people. Spark Silencer, I would just put in meme, trash, usable, I don't know, it still has that high damage, and if you can use it, great. I would just put it in usable, because I can't aim silenced weapons in this game, because silencers take up so much of the screen, and it just makes the normal iron sights very ineffective, I think. Spark Sniper I would also place in the goated category below the is the most in sniper? Yeah, I would probably put the most in sniper there. It's a really good sniper. Like, when you get that magnification, landing headshots isn't even hard because you get such a large image of their head. So as long as you know the bullet velocity, you'll be able to land those headshots quite effectively. And same goes for the Mosin Sniper, and that's why I put the Mosin Sniper above, because it can shoot faster and has more ammo in general. But it becomes a really effective long-range weapon. The only downside is you can't use it close range like the Sparks. But the Sparks is a sniper, so I wouldn't really be using it close range most of the time unless like I really need to use it. So next up is the Spectre, and I don't like this shotgun, but I would say it's better than the Crown and King. In the Crown and King, it's one of these weapons where I always get killed by them, but I just can't get kills with them. I can't one-tap with these weapons. Most people can one-tap me with them. I just can't one-tap myself. Compact I'd put down there as well, in the usable. I just don't like it. The bayonet one, yeah, sure, you could use it for grunts, but it's a shotgun, so you could just kill grunts with the shotgun anyway on a Spectre, if you have the ammo for it, of course. But the bayonet part comes in from the knife, which takes up a tool slot anyway, and like I said, it's often faster switching to your knife and just stabbing than having to use the bayonet or talon on some weapons. Next one is the Sparks. This I would... No, not the Sparks, what I'm saying, the Springfield 1866, and this I would place... I'd say this is a good weapon. It has high damage, capable of one-shot kill. The iron sights aren't too bad. The reload animation is cool. It's a cheap weapon to use. It's just a fun weapon. Next up, you have the Springfield Compact Bayonet, I suppose, since it has that knife. I don't use this weapon, but it's usable. Just as usable as the normal Springfield Compact, I would say. The Springfield Compact I wouldn't say is a good weapon. I even place it as a meme weapon, but I use it, like, I have a lot of fun. If I'm angry at the game, like if I just had a bad game, I usually play Springfield Compact, 2 of them, with explosive ammo, and it's actually quite effective, because you can just switch between them, and you will get a kill with it and get some splash damage, but the splash damage doesn't really matter. But if you land 2 shots on someone, they're dead, and you can just switch between them really fast, and after that kill you'll reload them both, and you'll have 2 reloaded weapons, like, which you can just switch between. So I find it's really fun. I could realistically put it in good tier probably, but I use it as a meme. The Deadeye, however, I would say actually is quite effective, since it doesn't have... I don't think it has much of a damage reduction, or if any, compared to the regular Sparks, but it does have a scope, and it only takes up a medium slot, which allows you to use them with any hand cannon, which actually makes hand cannons in themselves viable, because then you have the ranged option as well as the close range option. So you can use, because then you have 2 medium slots, because normally the problem with the hand cannons is what they use for range. I can't use a large rifle. But here you have a rifle in a compact form, but with the same sights. So what the Springfield Deadeye enables is the hand cannons. It makes hand cannons actually viable in a loadout, I'd say, so you don't suffer from lack of range. I might even put it in great because it enables so many weapons, and I think it's one of 2 compact Deadeye weapons. Next up is the Springfield Marksman, which I would probably put in great tier as well. Just below, it's used for a different reason than the Deadeye. But this you use, of course, as a long range weapon, and then you bring a pistol for close range. I think it's a fun, effective weapon. I would probably not use it above any other sniper, since I have to buy it, and I can get it for free, but then the scope is cracked, and I don't like the cracked scope. But it's usable, and I'd even say it's great if you do like it and do buy it, and I've found myself actually doing it more recently. The Veterinary Carabiner, I would place in great. I think it has really good iron sights. It's really satisfying to use. Incendiary ammo on this weapon can also be quite effective to tag people from long range and burn down their bars to ignite explosive barrels. I'd say all of the Veterinary Carabiner except for the silenced one, because of the sights, are great weapons. It's really effective. It has high damage, high fire rate. It's a satisfying bolt action weapon to use. It's not very expensive. You could put fire ammo on it to ignite barrels or burn down people's bars, or just use it for raw damage. I think it's a satisfying and it's a good weapon to use. Winfield Terminus, I also think it's a really good weapon. There's the hand cannon, which I don't find as effective, but I place most hand cannons in good because you can get use out of them if you compare them with a Deadeye, of a compact Deadeye, or if you possibly have the Quartermaster trait where you can actually use a large weapon and a medium weapon. But if you want, before you unlock traits, you can use the Winfield Terminus hand cannon and the Springfield compact Deadeye. But the Terminus in and of itself is a pretty powerful shotgun. I find it capable of one-shot killing most of the time. Other times when it needs 2 shots, it can get them away quite fast. I'm not a huge fan of the look of this weapon, but I think it's an effective weapon, and I've enjoyed using it recently when I've been moving away a bit from the Romero and trying the other shotguns, and I actually find this to be the 3rd best shotgun in the game after the Caldwell Rival and the Romero. So it's a perfectly effective weapon. Next one is the Winfield 1873 Aperture, and I would say this weapon is just good. Or I'd say it's usable. Just somewhere here in usable. I don't really like aperture sights, but that being said, this is the best aperture sight you'll find in the entire game. So it does have that. It's quite easy to aim with. I just don't prefer an aperture sight over a normal sight or an iron sight. So I'd say the normal Winfield M1873 it's good. Same for the bayonet. The C, I'd say I actually prefer the C. I think it has better skins. The silenced one is also pretty good. I'd place this there actually. I think these iron sights are usable, not as effective, but it's not too much of a downgrade compared to like the Veterinary Carabiner, which really suffers from it. Then we have an interesting weapon, the Winfield M1873 Deadeye, I think, or compact Deadeye probably. And this weapon, though I rarely use it, I think this works as a Deadeye replacement, but I haven't used it enough to say that it's better. What this lacks is the high damage from the Deadeye. That being said, you do have more ammo, so you could efficiently use this as an alternative to the Springfield, depending on which you prefer. But I'd say both of these enable hand cannons, and that's really their main use, but they could be viable on their own as well. The Centennial, I'd say, probably goes here. It's a higher damage option than the normal 1873s. That being said, I think it's more expensive. I don't like the appearance of it. I don't like any of these Winfields, how they look, which often hinders me from buying them, or how they play. But it's an effective weapon. I just think the sniper variant is a lot better, being one of, I think, 3 snipers in the game. I think snipers have higher magnifications than the marksman weapons do, because the scopes are very, very long. That being said, it has quite low damage, but it's still capable of 2-shot kill, which is the same as the Sparks requires, or the Mosin sniper, realistically, if they are at full health. And if they're at full health, this would then be just as effective, realistically speaking. So, but I would put it in great because I don't like the weapon as much. 1873C Marksman. I think this weapon is quite ineffective as well. I'd put this probably there. I think it suffers from low damage, and that's its issue. I think it's possible to 2-shot kill to the body, but I've found myself needing 3 shots sometimes, especially through very, very small like walls and stuff, very thin walls, where the Mosin or the Sparks or something would be able to 2-tap. This would need 3 shots. That being said, headshots are a 1-shot kill. The magnification is good. So next one is the Vandal Striker. I've never used this weapon, but it's another compact, so I place it in usable along with the normal compact. It's just a medium slot weapon, but I think the Deadeye would be more effective, because then you can use something for close range instead of having 2 like medium range options, or 1 long and 1 medium. Then you have the Winfield Talon. I haven't used this weapon, I just see it as a direct upgrade to the normal one, and it looks cooler. And then you have the Swift, which I would just place behind the Talon. And this is my list. I'm not sure if I can paste a link to it. Maybe I can share it on Twitter, so maybe I can. If I can somehow I'll put the link in the description. But this is what it looks like. So the Romeros and the Mosin sniper, and well, you can see it. You've been watching the video, hopefully, if you're at this point, unless you skipped all the way through. But that's going to be my Hunt Showdown tier list. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm glad if you made it this far. Actually, I don't think anybody does. So yeah, thanks for watching.